So I'm a Chesapeake resident. I'm nervous now, knowing that like, gosh, my toilet could be leaking. I could have a leak underneath the house, and it's just dripping away into the sandy soil and never know it. What can I do? What can I do to be proactive, to be careful, to avoid getting that surprise bill in the mail?
So, one is many plumbers will recommend, and many utilities will recommend that you put dye in all of your toilet tanks.
Okay.
Every 6 months.
Well, wow. Okay. I need to do that.
Me too. And now I've replaced 2 toilet flappers in the last year because they were leaking. I've replaced every toilet flapper in my current house. I've been there for 8 years. I've replaced all of them at least once, several of them twice, one of them 3 times. One of them I put in a brand new toilet flapper. It leaked from the first day I put it in.
That happened in my house, and I blamed my husband and his install. But perhaps that actually happens, like.
Sometimes it's not the flapper, sometimes it's what it seats on.
Okay.
It may just need to be cleaned. Because if you have a little piece of anything, because you've got metal hardware in there, if you have a little piece of rust off that metal hardware that gets caught in that flapper, then that will cause that little seep.
Okay.
And so it's not just the flapper, but it also has to seat against that plastic ring that's underneath it. And either part of that can cause a leak.
Okay.
A very small seep or a larger leak. Chains, those metal chains from the handle down to the flapper, sometimes those get hung up on the flapper. Those cause big leaks. Those cause lots of water to flow lots of time.
Okay.
It'll flow the full capacity of what can come into your toilet and go out. And so that's the worst type, but those also are sometimes self-correcting because the turbulence of the water as it's running in that inlet valve that's on the bottom of the tank, runs in there and then comes out through the flapper valve. That water moves around a lot, and sometimes that chain where the flapper is caught on the chain will come loose, and then the flapper closes down.
So that's another way
that's
it can
an
happen
invisible
without
leak.
us knowing it.
That's correct, and that's an invisible leak.
Okay, so as a homeowner, I'm gonna maintain my toilets.
Maintain your toilet. Put dye in every 6 months or so, and see if the dye comes up in the toilet bowl.
Okay. Toilet bowls are not all created equal either. Toilets.
Right.
So
yes, and there's a whole range of not just quality, but volume of flow.
Okay.
So an old, let's say a 1980s toilet will usually flow somewhere around 8 gallons a minute.
Wow.
The low flow toilets were adopted in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
And they'll flow typically 3 to 4.5. Sometimes as much as 6, depending on the generation. Modern toilets will generally flow anywhere from 3 to 4.5. So the volume of water that can escape from a toilet may be dictated by the design of the toilet and the age of the toilet.
So if you have the means, it might be worth upgrading the actual toilets to.
Yes.
I mean, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do. You talk about leaving the house for a weekend and leaving the shower running. I can't really help you with that, but I do. My dad instilled this in me that when we leave for the weekend, I turn the water off at the toilets. Does that make sense? Does that at least help the toilet issue?
Well, that's the most common cause of a leak.
Okay, it's the toilet.
Is the toilet. So that's another way to find a toilet leak. If you turn it off and the water drain at the toilet, one, that's a good practice because that keeps those valves good because valves can get stiff.
Okay.
But if the water drains out, then you know that you had a leak of some sort. And when you turn that back on, if water flows through it, then you were leaking water from that toilet.
Okay.
Going down the drain,
Another way to know.
Another way to know. The last toilet that I repaired, which was about 2 months ago in my own house, when I turned that valve off, the valve didn't turn off all the way. So that meant laying on my back on my bathroom floor in the upstairs bathroom was not very pleasant because the water continued to flow. It was a small volume, but when it's splashing down in your face, it's still annoying.
Sure.
And it makes it hard to work.
Yeah.
And so it's good to exercise those valves. Otherwise, they may not close all the way.
When you really need them to.
When you really need them. And most of us, including me, I do not do that very well.
Okay. So another thing I'm thinking as a homeowner, know where your lines are. You know, obviously know where the meter is, know where the lines enter your house, so that you can kind of be careful or be like, oh, I just planted that tree and there go the roots. And should we, when we leave the house, should we turn there? Every house, I assume, has like a main water shut off.
Houses are supposed to have a main water shut off. I
Okay.
can't swear that they all do, and
Okay.
we've got all age of houses
Right.
in the city. So frequently they're in a garage.
Okay.
Sometimes they're underground, out just outside the wall of the house. Most of the time, that valve will look like the same type of round knob that your hose bib has.
I think that's where mine is. Mine's right out. You know, I have water meter, pipe, house, and it's like right at the house, at the end of the house there. So when we leave for any extended period of time, should we be turning the water off at the house?
Honestly, I have never done that.
Okay.
So it's something you can do.
Like that
If you're-
doesn't hurt it at
if you're
all?
going to turn your heat off in the wintertime, absolutely, you should winterize your system.
Okay.
So for example,
Oh.
folks that may go to Florida for a month or two in the wintertime, if they're going to turn the heat way down, then yes, I would recommend turning the water off to your house.
Okay.
Because if something happens, if the power goes out, or if the gas, you have a problem with a system of any type, and your house doesn't stay warm, then yes, it can freeze. And so I would recommend
Okay.
turning the water off, and not just turn the water off, but have a plumber come in and winterize the house.
Okay.
So winterizing the house, for example, would be draining the lines.
Okay. Yes.
Because if the house gets at 20 degrees and your lines are full, even if the water's turned off, then they can still freeze.